Now, this duck story is so important. Now, in the normal world, in a pond, when you see two ducks get into a fight. And if you see that carefully, I often go to Gels Park, which is close to my house, and I see there are a lot of ducks in the ponds, and I often see this. When two ducks get into a fight, that fight won't last long. You know what happens? They will separate and float off in opposite direction. There'll be a lot of quacking, quack, 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 quack for maybe a couple of seconds. And you will think, oh my God, they're going to kill each other. But you will be surprised that within seconds, they will separate and they float off in opposite direction. And you know what they do? Because so much energy they have built, because I'm sure their emotions also would have come up, they flap their wings so vigorously that they release all their surplus energy that was built during the fight. So when you throw a piece of bread in the pond, definitely you'll see, ducks coming for it, and some duck will grab it, and there'll be a lot of fighting. But it doesn't last long, because those ducks, we think they are not intelligent beings. Those so-called non-intelligent beings know how to survive. They flap their wings vigorously, and that's how they're releasing their surplus energy that was built during the fight. And what do they do after that? After flapping their wings, they will float on peacefully in their life, in the pond, as if nothing happened. And even if the other duck came across, there'll be nothing there. There'll be no emotion, because all that extra emotion has been released immediately. But my dear friends, now I want to extrapolate that a little bit more. If those two ducks had human minds, you know how they would react? This is how they would react. Duck with a human mind. They will keep the fight alive even after the fight is finished, even 2 days later. They will keep the fight alive in their mind by thinking, by story making. You know how we talk? I don't believe. This is the chatter that goes on in our mind after any event. Just see that. I don't believe what he just did. He thinks he owns the pond. He has no consideration for my private space. I will never trust him again. I'm sure he's plotting something against me already. I will teach him a lesson he will never forget. This is, if the duck had human mind, my dear friends, even after 2 days, even after a year, this is how the duck would keep on making stories. The act would be small, but the stories would be big. On and on, the mind spins tales, still thinking about it for days, for months. And as far as the body is concerned, the fight is still going on. Why? Because there is energy generating in response to your thoughts. Because your thoughts are going on, and because of that, your emotions are generating. So you have thoughts that releases more energy, and then you have emotions with the thoughts, which will create more thoughts. So the actual incident is finished, but in your mind, your body, the fight is still going on. And this becomes emotional thinking of the ego, because there is no physical incident there now. See how problematic the duck life would become if it would think like a human being. But unfortunately, this is how we humans live. The mind makes up story, keeps going and going and going. So you know what's the lesson that I have learned from the ducks? Flap your wings. Let go of the story and return to the present moment, because in the present moment there is nothing happening. Your story happened long time back, but your story is still happening in your mind. My dear friends, if you don't remember anything, just remember one phrase from this workshop: flap your wings and let go. Such an important lesson for human beings through this ducks. So when we are coming to the end of this workshop, anything that we are doing is for happiness, isn't it? So what is the secret to happiness? The ego says, this is the problem. The ego says, maybe at some point in the future, I can be at peace. If this happens, if that happens, or something else happens, or if I get that promotion, if I have 2 beautiful children, or if I get that house, then I will be happy. So what is ego saying basically? Ego is saying I can never be at peace because of some. So the ego is always pushing you into the future, saying you can only be happy in the future. So this is the kind of story. So why cannot we be at peace now? Because the ego doesn't know that your only opportunity for being at peace is now. So what is ego doing? It's saying maybe at some point in the future you can be at peace. And so what you do, you keep listening to the stories of ego saying, if, and you try to find yourself in things, because that's what the ego is saying. If you find yourself in that, you will be happy. If you find yourself in that, so the whole life you're looking for something, and what you are not looking is, you have to realize that the only opportunity for being at peace is now. Or maybe the ego does not know that is how the ego operates, and maybe it's afraid that if you found this out, that the peace is in now, then that's the end of the ego, isn't it? If really you found out that the peace is in the current moment, that will be the end of the ego. So why would ego want you to be in the present moment? Yeah, isn't that funny? So how to be at peace now? By making peace with the present moment. The present moment is the field on which the game of life is happening. It's not happening in the future. It's not happening in the past. It's happening now. And it cannot happen anywhere else. So here and now is where the life is happening. And once you have made peace with the present moment, see what happens? See what you can do or choose to do. It's your choice. There are three words that convey the secret of the art of living, the secret of all success and happiness: to be one with life. Being one with life, being now and here. You then realize that you don't live your life, but the life lives you. Very important to understand that being one with life is being one with now. That is where the life is. And the moment when you are in now, the ego dies. Hence, ego will always keep you away from the present moment. And that is the problem. And though knowing that present moment is answer to everything, we will be trapped in the present moment, because that's the game of ego mind. So this is the last slide, my dear friends. It's very important to understand how we are all carrying the past. And when we talk about carrying the past, I would like to remind you of a story which I'm sure most of you know about. This is about carrying the past. This is about two Zen monks who were traveling, and they came to a point where they had to cross a stream. I'm sure most of you would have heard this story, and this is so appropriate to my last slide. And just before they were about to cross the stream, the stream was a little bit deeper, like till the knees, and there was this beautiful woman who had a new kimono she was wearing. She didn't want to spoil that, so she asked for help, if the monks could carry her or help her to go to the other side of the stream. So one of the monks picked her up on his shoulder, and in 5 minutes they crossed the stream, and then he put her down. She thanked him and she went away, and they both kept walking. Every hour the other monk would say to the first monk, our guru will be very unhappy, our master will be very unhappy if he knows that you carried a woman. We Zen monks should not touch women. So he said, that's all right. I did not see her as a woman. I as somebody in need, I helped. That's fine. I will explain to the master. Half an hour later, same question. Another half an hour later, same question. After 5 hours of continuous getting this question, the first monk said, my dear friend, yes, I carried the woman. I dropped her to the other side of the stream 5 hours back. But you are still carrying that woman even now, 5 hours later. That is so true, my dear friends. I have read this story God knows how many times, because this is how we live our life. So as in the case of monk who carried the burden of his resentment for 5 hours by feeding it with his thoughts, most people, we are carrying a large amount of unnecessary baggage, both mental and emotional, throughout our lives. They limit themselves through grievances, regrets, hostility, guilt. They're limiting themselves. Our emotional thinking has become our self. We think we are our emotional thinking. And so we hang on to the old emotion because it strengthens our identity. We do not want to change. Though we are suffering because of that, that has become our identity. We can break this habit. We can break this habit of this ego mind, this ego thinking. We have learned so many ways in the last few slides how to combat the ego. So because of the human tendency, to perpetuate the old emotions. This is our tendency to bring the old emotions back and back and back and back and suffer because of the pain body. And so what we do is, however, we can stop adding to the pain body we already have. So this is basically our choice. We can come out of it how? By flapping our wings. Remember the duck story that I said? Flap your wings. Whenever you think you are in the past and it's not required, flap your wings. Come out of the mental dwelling in the past, because it's not doing you any good. Nothing ever happened in the past that can prevent you from being in the present now. So we can learn not to keep the situations or events alive in our minds. We can learn to return our attention continuously to the pristine, the timeless present moment, rather than to be caught up in the mental movie making. We are going through the mental movie making. Remember how I told you, if the duck had human minds, this is the movie making. You know, our very presence then becomes our identity rather than our thoughts and emotions. When you are in the ego mind, your identity was your thoughts, your emotions. But when you are in the present moment, that presence of your being itself becomes your identity. And then, as I said before, nothing ever happened in the past that can prevent you from being in the present now. And if the past cannot prevent you from being present now, then what power does it have? So if you can be in the present moment by flapping your wings and coming out of the past, then past does not have any power over you. And the moment past does not have any power over you, you've already broken one of the characteristic of the ego mind, conditioned by the past. Gone the ego mind.